The episodes of Arthur where a character has a medical problem are some of my favourites, not because I like the fact they have medical issues, but because I think they're the most important, and particularly for the young target audience who may not be that familiar with certain medical conditions, and this is exactly what we get with Maria Speaks. Now, I will say, I feel like giving her the role without her knowing she was going to be getting the role, which I'll talk about in a moment, was maybe not the best decision. But we saw in the episode that, there are also ways of working things out. This is the first segment of the 6th episode of the 19th season of Arthur, and Maria is a character we've never met before, and apparently she's been in Mr. Ratburn's class this whole time. I'm going to have to go and watch previous episodes to try and see her. I'm sure she's there, but the class are putting on a live broadcast of a TV show. Apparently the school is getting this weekly live TV show, and each week a different class is in charge of presenting it. And Mr. Ratburn has already decided who's taking on which roles, which I think is not the best decision. I feel like the children should have put their names forward and had a chance to actually do something they wanted to do. But nevertheless, Mr. Ratburn had decided that Maria was going to be presenting the news segment, or the features segment, and Maria has a stutter. And somehow, most people in the class don't know this. And she's terrified not just of, presenting a news segment and stuttering live on, television, Lakewood Elementary television, but also she's worried about the people in her class finding out and making fun of her and ridiculing her. And Jenna, who's one of my favourite supporting characters, is aware of her stutter and is a really good friend to her and really encourages her and is there for her, which I think was really important in this. But Mr. Ratburn, while I'm not pleased that he kind of just dictated that Maria would be doing this, he did play a really great role in being there for her, supporting her, helping her. And of course, the main message in this is that people have stutters. But there are messages in this both for the person with the stutter and for the other people who might be around them. And it's the message that, first of all, people with stutters are normal. It's nothing peculiar. It's actually quite a common thing. People stutter for various different reasons. Some people will always stutter around people. Some people may only stutter in high stress situations, but it happens. And it's nothing to be, if you meet somebody with a stutter, you shouldn't treat them any differently. But you also have to be patient with them and let them have the chance to get their words out. I can't speak as somebody with a stutter because I don't have a stutter, but I do know from previous research that finishing somebody's sentence when they have a stutter is not a good thing to do. And I feel like this episode could have been a bit more educational about that. It definitely focused more on things from Maria's perspective, which I completely understand, and it was a really great way to show that actually she doesn't have as much to fear as she thinks she does. And I think that was a really great way to encourage the character. But I think maybe providing some education to the other characters on how to treat somebody with a stutter could have been as beneficial. As I said, I'm aware that most people with a stutter don't like people finishing their sentences or trying to hurry them up, and obviously that makes perfect sense. Can you imagine how infuriating that would be? I don't like it when people try and finish my sentence, whenever it happens, so I can only imagine what that must feel like if it happens on a regular basis, and it must be really demeaning, I think. So the episode definitely had room for improvement, but ultimately I thought it was pretty good. We have some characters in this who we don't see a lot of, such as Jenna and obviously Maria. It was enjoyable. I liked it. The ones where they address a child with a medical problem, or some kind of aspect that makes them different to their classmates, they're always so important because chances are, well, actually, I was going to say most children will have somebody in their life, either their class at school or an extracurricular, with a stutter. But actually, I genuinely, I don't know if I've ever met anybody with a stutter. I actually don't know if I have. At least not one that's particularly prominent. So, I don't know. I don't know how common it is. If anybody does know that, please feel free to tell me. But certainly, it's common enough that a lot of people watching it will meet somebody with a stutter, and educating them at least a little bit about it, I think is pretty good. It didn't go into as much medical detail as, say, the episode with Buster's asthma or Binky's peanut allergy. They definitely went into a lot more of the medical side, but I guess because stutters are quite complex and have various different kind of reasons, maybe it would have been too much for one episode. But either way, not a bad episode, room for improvement, but generally pretty enjoyable.